A hardworking baker meets the sweetest confection.
An intelligent young lady, hardworking, attractive.
Candlelight dinners, roses. He was like old-fashioned when it came to dating.
Together, they indulge in the good life, but there are bitter times ahead.
He thought Constance was gonna die. Something isn't right here.
A hunger for something new will leave one of them burned.
Leave. That was a perfect opportunity to get out and go have an affair.
Eric?
He really took his vows to heart, till death do us part, literally.
It's fair to say that it was execution style.
It's the perfect murder.
Love may be blind and marriage bliss, but divorce is murder. After a few years in the Navy, Eric Clark returns to his hometown of Birmingham, Alabama.
A hard neighborhood to grow up in. There is some levels of poverty.
He wanted to go into the Navy because he couldn't find a good job here after high school.
In 1998, a dramatic event causes him to change his path.
There was an explosion in the engine room, and the other guy in the room with him ended up passing away in his arms. So I think from that point on, he was just like, let me serve my time, just get out.
Now that he's a civilian again, Eric jumps into his newfound passion, baking.
We make red velvet cakes from scratch and German chocolate cakes from scratch.
He enjoyed baking. He just loved working in the kitchen.
Eric is also mending a broken heart.
He had fell in love with another girl, and he wanted to marry her. And I don't think that the young lady was ready.
They broke up because of that, and for a while he just didn't talk to anybody.
Until he meets 25-year-old bank teller Constance Harris.
Intelligent young lady, hardworking, attractive.
She looked very much like a typical businesswoman. She had a good job, you know, nice car. She didn't seem like she wanted for anything.
Except love.
Eric and Constance met through a mutual friend. It was more of a blind date situation.
Hey.
Hi. You must be Eric, right?
That's what they like to call me.
What do other people like to call you?
Just Eric.
Hi, Just Eric. I'm Constance.
He loved to woo his girlfriends, like cook dinner for them, have candlelight dinners, roses. He was like old-fashioned when it came to dating. He was a hopeless romantic.
He needed somebody special to be with him because I knew that he was going to give all that he had.
Charming and a baker. Where have you been all my life?
She was always smiling, so I think it was just those little small things that really made Eric fall for her.
This is good. This is really good.
The feeling is mutual.
Wait until you try the dessert.
He was very easy to get along with. If Eric wasn't my cousin, he would have been the perfect man for me.
Constance is every bit the foodie that Eric is, and it isn't long before their first date leads to many tasty meals together.
Cookouts were like #1 on their list of things to like do together. She was a really good cook.
Eric, save it for dinner. By the way, your chicken's burning.
The fact that she liked to cook soul food and his passion was baking, it was kind of like the perfect match in the kitchen.
Eric's family welcomes Constance as one of their own.
I liked her a lot. She was really outgoing, family-oriented as well. It seemed like she really loved Eric.
That looks good.
And she seemed like a good fit for my brother.
Honey, you have something on your lips.
Oh, what is it?
Right over here. Right over here.
When I used to see Eric and Constance kiss and stuff, I was a kid, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that is so gross. But I got used to it. I just started ignoring it.
Constance's family takes a liking to Eric, too, especially her cousin, Jean-Pierre Devon.
Man, we got to do this more often. I hear you, man. Thanks for the ride.
It's nothing. Oh, hold on 1 second. Baby, can you pop the trunk, please?
Jean-Pierre got along very well with Eric.
They hung out together when Eric and Constance came to the Atlanta area.
Man, this is going to be my entire dinner.
You know that's just dessert, right?
You like him so much, why didn't you marry him?
Okay.
But some family members are concerned over how fast this love train is moving.
He started seeing her more. He started staying over. I'm saying, well, you and Constance are not married, and you know that that's not right.
I love you.
And that's when she told me they had planned to get married.
Eric pops the question after only 6 months of dating.
I don't really think they included anybody in the decision. He was just ready to just go for it.
The wedding was beautiful.
Constance looked really pretty on the wedding day.
A lot of her people were there, and a lot of our people and my friends. He had a nice wedding.
Big day. Big day. Big day. Big day.
Jean-Pierre was actually one of the groomsmen in Eric's wedding.
Attention, everybody.
Constance and Eric couldn't be happier.
Sir.
It was just a day by day, okay, let's do this today, let's do this today. They like to travel. They just like to live life.
But there are bills to pay, and Eric realizes it's time to match what Constance is making as a bank teller.
Eric was actually disappointed for having to leave his passion, which was baking. But he was happy about being able to make his wife happy as a whole.
So the best place for him at the time was U.S. Steel.
He made very good money.
Constance's dad got Eric the job over at U.S. Steel. And so by that, he loved him as a son. He was working 7 days a week. He did everything that he could to supply the needs of his family in every way that he could.
2 years into their marriage, Eric and Constance own a house, are driving new cars, and indulge in the best that life has to offer. It seems as if all that's missing are children.
So?
Not done yet.
The number one thing Eric wanted was a kid. Didn't matter if it was a girl or a boy. He wanted to be a father. They tried, but for some reason it never happened.
The doctor found nothing wrong with Eric, and he found nothing wrong with Constance that would prevent them from having children.
Except perhaps for one small thing.
The doctor said it's probably that she needed to lose weight. We thought that might have been a problem, that they couldn't have children.
Psychotherapist Stacy Kaiser and forensic psychologist Brian Russell both believe the failure to conceive could be a very difficult hurdle to overcome.
Constance and Eric both very desperately want to have a family, and so for Constance to find out that she's not getting pregnant because of her body size and her weight can be really devastating for her.
If one of them blames the other for the problems that they're having with conception, and particularly if one or the other of them's heart really is not in it, and the fact that her weight is one of the issues could compound the feelings on Constance's part that maybe she's going to be less attractive to her husband on top of everything else.
And all of those things could impact their marriage.
To help her lose weight and improve her chances of getting pregnant, Constance turns to surgery.
She wanted to have bypass surgery to get rid of some of the weight. Constance and Eric argued a lot about the bypass surgery because he was concerned about Constance's health.
Are you sure you want to do this? You're perfect just the way you are.
Constance saw how much Eric loved her for who she was.
I'm sure.
Gastric bypass was a very serious surgery.
And with any major surgery, there are serious health risks. But Constance has already made up her mind.
She had a gorgeous face, of course, but size-wise, she wasn't comfortable with her body.
It's gonna be all right.
Eric finally gave in, and she had the surgery done.
Sure enough, Constance's recovery is not without complications.
There was some infection wherever they stapled her stomach together.
Constance, baby, you okay?
I don't know. It just hurts.
Yeah, we need an ambulance.
She ended up going back in the hospital so they could repair whatever was done wrong.
All right, thank you.
He was always at her side. I think that was a scary time for him because he thought Constance was gonna die.
And what was supposed to improve her life now looks like it could end it.
You could see that things were breaking.
Baby, what's wrong?
It hurts real bad.
He felt helpless because he didn't know how to keep her out of pain.
Constance and Eric Clark have only been married for 2 years when Constance undergoes surgery that leaves her clinging to life.
He'd go to work, come back to the hospital after work, and sit there until time to go back to work.
After 2 weeks of heavy antibiotics, Constance slowly starts to recover.
Hey, baby.
He was a doting husband from what I could see.
You're my hero, you know that?
Eric was definitely relieved.
Doctor said I can probably go home tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
But she did lose a lot of weight. She looked really nice. The weight loss really looked good on her. And the more weight she lost, the more confidence she gained.
Constance may be looking good on the outside, but inside, she's still hurting.
She was in a lot of pain, and the pain medications that she was given was very strong.
4 months later, Constance finally feels well enough to go back to work. She quits her previous job and finds better paid employment as a nurse's aide.
She got another job working at a senior facility, and I understand that it was a good job.
And even though she's slimmed down, the couple hasn't conceived.
Another year ago, and they're still not pregnant.
Want another one, baby?
From the outside looking in, Eric and Constance seem really happy.
If you ask her, well, what's wrong? Oh, I have a headache. I don't feel good. You have any Tylenol?
No. Good night. I'm going to bed.
She seemed withdrawled.
All right.
Eric's smile was still there, but it wasn't the same.
Oh,
Baby, what's wrong?
it hurts real bad.
Okay, hold on.
She put everything that she possibly could on Eric.
3. I need 3.
Constance had taken so many painkillers that she had just gotten used to them, so of course she needed more. He felt helpless because he didn't know how to keep her out of pain. I could just look at his face and tell that he was very stressed, very tired, and very worried about Constance. He just looked sad. And that wasn't him. That wasn't my brother. He was always smiling, always joyous, and that joy just wasn't there anymore.
Thank you.
I'd say, well, Eric, how's Constance? Oh, she fine. She just fine. Because he didn't want me to know she wasn't fine.
The way that he looked at Constance, it wasn't the same. And that wasn't him. That wasn't my brother.
It came to be real stressful.
Upping the dosage helps Constance numb the pain, but it numbs everything else too.
Hey, baby.
At the time, I didn't know she was high on pain pills. That's when a lot more of the arguments began.
How come you're not at work?
Blocking the TV.
What, you just been watching TV all day? What about this mess? What is this? Huh?
What mess?
This mess! You really gotta see somebody about what's going on with you and the pain and everything.
I have to believe that there's a lot of shame and embarrassment for him right now. He has this wife who used to be somebody who was engaging and interesting and fun, and now she's at home and he's having to cover for her and go to things by himself, and so he's got to be feeling very uncomfortable.
There could be some resentment building in Eric about all of the things that he has had to do, as sorry as he feels for some of the things that she's been through that may have not been within her control. She is certainly not exercising her full ability to help herself and is in fact sort of using him, if you will.
It isn't long before the couple retreats into their own private hell.
He would start to come to the family gatherings alone, and then he started to not come at all. You could see that things were breaking.
Hi, you've reached Constance cell. Please leave a message after the tone.
She was always gone. She was always out. What she was doing, God knows what.
As their love life starts to fizzle, Eric is almost certain that Constance is up to something. Or seeing someone.
He worked double shifts, and sometimes he worked overnight. So that was a perfect opportunity for her to get out and go have an affair.
The marriage isn't the only place where Constance is on shaky ground. Her new job is not going well.
She was taking off a lot. It made her employers make the decision that she was no longer needed.
The stress makes Constance jumpier and jumpier.
I remember this one incident where Constance heard this loud boom in the house.
Eric? Eric, is that you?
She ran to the bedroom, got a gun, and came around the corner as if she was just prepared to shoot whatever it was. And come to find out, it was just a broom that fell. The way she reacted was over the top.
I have to imagine the drugs had to have played a part in that. I can't see it not.
And I was like, okay, something isn't right here.
Eric sees it too.
Baby, what's the gun doing here? Don't just stand there and act like them pills didn't cost you your job. Got you acting all crazy.
Give me a break, okay? I don't need this right now.
Okay, yeah, you're right. But you know what you need?
No, Eric. Tell me. Tell me what I need.
Rehab. Rehab's exactly what you need.
Rehab. Rehab's for drug addicts.
Eric was raised to be a man, to take care of his household. So if your spouse decides to get on alcohol or drugs, that you're supposed to not leave them. You're supposed to help them.
She agrees and checks into a drug rehab facility.
He tried to protect her and to get her the help that she needed. And I think he thought he could change her.
But that's not what she wanted.
Baby, what are you doing?
Don't ask questions. I'm back and that's it.
Constance checked herself out before time, which left a big medical bill on Eric. He'd tell me, I'm doing everything I can, but it's not enough.
Eric, help me.
And now that she's home, she's in withdrawal and in desperate physical pain. Things have nowhere to go but down.
There was a disturbance, which led them to tell Eric to leave.
You my wife's new man, is that it?
She started doing some unlawful things.
Constance and Eric's marriage has its troubles. But when Constance starts abusing prescription pills, it opens the door to much larger problems.
Eric!
And one very unhappy household.
Eric, please help me.
Some days she would snap at him. Some days she was really sweet. It depended on her level of pain if she was nice or not.
Listen to me, Eric. This isn't working.
Doctors won't give you another prescription.
I know that.
So tell me what to do, all right?
Give me some money. Please. Please.
Okay.
Money.
Her decision was, help me by purchasing the drugs, street style.
Eric would do whatever he needed to do to get her what she needed, to get Constance what she needed.
Constance takes to the mean streets of Birmingham in search of a fix.
She started doing some unlawful things.
She was using his money, buying it.
It doesn't take long for Eric to cross the line from bankrolling Constance's little secret to breaking the law himself.
This guy shows up and he has 20 pills and he's waiting outside for Constance to come get them. Eric paid the guy and brought the pills back to her. She took him out and counted him up like it was just a regular day.
What are you doing?
I'm making sure you didn't get ripped off.
It wasn't even about making Constance happy anymore. It was just about keeping peace in his marriage.
But keeping the peace costs money. Money that the Clarks don't have.
Okay, we gotta go. I'm gonna be late for work.
He pulled double shifts at the steel plant, and on the weekends, he got into bartending.
Can we go?
Anything that was gonna cover her habits that she had.
She may have been writhing on the floor. He may have seen her sobbing. And so it helps me to understand a little bit better why he might have thought in a moment like that, that the thing to do was to get her the opiate, get her through this night, and then try to figure out a way to wean her off of it.
He was thinking, well, if I control the money, if I control the quantity, if I go with her on these drug buys, at least I'm monitoring her usage. But what he's actually doing is enabling her usage.
She's such a mess in this moment right now. He knows the drugs will help, and then tomorrow they're going to start to wean off, but then there's another tomorrow and another tomorrow and another tomorrow, and the quitting part never happens.
And things only get worse from there.
He went to her family's Thanksgiving get-together.
Eric, I thought you were working.
Got someone to cover my shift.
Constance.
There was a guy there with Constance, and that's when he found out that something was going on.
You my wife's new man, is that it?
Is there a problem here?
Why don't you come outside and find out?
Eric, it's not like that.
The hell it's not!
Leave.
Oh, you think that's funny?
he was very hurt about it because he trusted her.
Eric, I got your message. Sorry I'm late. Eric?
I'm very sure that Eric knew Constance was cheating.
Eric?
And he really took his vows to heart, till death do us part, literally.
He'd tell me, Mom, a promise is better not made than to make it and break it.
You scared me, Eric.
I know things have been rough between us, but I just want to let you know that I want to work it out. You up for it?
I'll get better. I know I can get better.
We'll work on it together.
Whatever it took for him to make his marriage work is what he was gonna do to keep his wife. And divorcing wasn't an option.
Eric vows to spend as much time with Constance as he can. But with the holidays just around the corner, he also needs to make a quick trip to Atlanta to stock up on liquor.
Eric worked part-time as a bartender, and he came to Atlanta to purchase alcohol because it's cheaper in Atlanta. Constance referred her husband, Eric, to her cousin, Jean-Pierre.
Yo, JP, I'm on the highway, man. Where am I going?
And he was supposed to take Eric to a discount liquor store.
Oh, okay. All right. Looking forward to it.
But no one can predict what happens next.
Pretty gruesome, blood everywhere.
Drugs, homicide, shootings, a very dangerous area.
After drug abuse and a suspected affair nearly tear their marriage apart, Constance and Eric Clark seem to be on the mend when tragedy strikes.
I was the on-call homicide detective, and I received a call around by 8:30 that night.
The call sends Detective Young to a housing development in the College Park suburb of Atlanta.
That immediate subdivision was extremely new. They were still building houses, and there were only 2 families in that neighborhood.
A mother and daughter heard popping noises. They thought it was the workers trying to complete the house with a staple gun.
But the sound wasn't a staple gun.
I see a body laying in the driveway. An African-American man. He appeared to be shot multiple times. Pretty gruesome, blood everywhere. Brain matter on the driveway. At this point, you're like, okay, how does this guy get down here? There's no cars in the road, and it was at the end of a cul-de-sac.
College Park is known as a very high crime area where there was drugs, homicide, shooting. They thought it was a carjacking. That was their initial reaction there.
But simple logic quickly says otherwise.
Typically, when somebody wants your car and you give them the car, that's it. You don't need to kill someone. The fact that he was shot so many times was, to me, an indication that this person wanted to make sure he died and not get away.
He had money in his wallet, so you kind of ruled out robbery at that point.
He had $500 in cash on him the night he was murdered.
He also has his Alabama driver's license.
How did this guy from Alabama get down in this cul-de-sac in this subdivision?
The guy from Alabama is Eric. When Constance gets word, she is shattered. As as is Eric's family.
My mom got a call. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Hello?
From Constance, and Constance was just saying he's gone.
What do you mean he's gone? What are you talking about?
He's dead.
So, of course, I lost it.
The next morning, they told me that my brother had been killed, and I just broke down.
Everybody was wondering, like, why? What happened? Who could have done such thing? Who could have done it?
Constance herself is a suspect by the mere fact that she is Eric's spouse.
The night that it happened, Constance said that she was with Eric's sister.
Eric's sister confirms that they went to the drugstore that night, so she has an alibi. Police do discover something that raises suspicions.
I learned that Constance had 2 affairs that I know of.
And those men were not savory characters at all. They were, people who were involved in crime in, the Birmingham area.
But they too have solid alibis. Investigators also look into the man Eric was supposed to meet that night, Constance's cousin, Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre was supposed to show him how to get to a liquor store, and that's all we knew at the time.
Jean-Pierre is an unlikely suspect because he and Eric were friends.
There's no history between these two. There was no bad blood.
But 2 days into the investigation, further digging unearths a strange coincidence.
Jean-Pierre worked for a lumber company that delivered lumber in that same neighborhood that the murder took place.
Not only is there a connection between Jean-Pierre and the neighborhood, but they think they've got a match for his car.
The 911 caller looked out of the window after hearing the gunshots and saw 2 cars speeding away.
His car fit the description that was provided by witnesses.
The other was a silver car, Eric's car. So the next logical step is bring Jean-Pierre Devon in. He gave a very detailed list of where he was. He got off of work, picked up his girlfriend.
We went to pick up her kid. I went by my house, grabbed some clothes, I went by her place. We watched TV all night. That's it.
But cell phone records do not support Jean-Pierre's story.
When I started noticing Jean-Pierre's phone calls, at one point Eric and Jean-Pierre were pinging off the same cell phone tower, a mile of where the body was found. I was able to obtain an arrest warrant for Jean-Pierre.
With Jean-Pierre behind bars, police find another clue.
Eric's car was found about a week after he was killed. They processed that car, no prints, no DNA, no shell casings, nothing.
The investigators hit a wall.
Absent of a confession, absent of physical evidence, which there was none, absent of an eyewitness, you don't have much. It was so circumstantial that the district attorney's office didn't feel they would be able to secure a conviction. So the case basically stopped, and they gave him a bond, and that was it.
With Jean-Pierre's release and no other suspect in sight, Eric's family is heartbroken.
They had hope initially because there was an arrest made, and then it just went away because there wasn't enough evidence. So for them, it was a roller coaster.
First of all, in their minds, there's a killer on the loose. But secondly, it means that justice isn't being served and that they're not getting their closure.
While the law has a very high standard, beyond a reasonable doubt, for conviction, the victim's family often does not have such a high standard.
And so for Eric's family to find out that they let go the person that they thought was guilty is going to send them into a tailspin.
Eric's parents spend the next 2 years urging police to re-examine the case, knowing that Eric's killer is still out there somewhere.
Me and my wife, we stayed on top of it. We were going to Atlanta at least 3 times out of a month.
We have a saying in this business, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
The Clarks' persistence eventually pays off.
Thank you very much, Mr. Young.
That's when Detective Velasquez and I began to collaborate on the case.
This case had a lot of potential. We had a suspect off the beginning, Jean-Pierre Devon. I looked at the interview tape, and it was clear to me that he was lying.
I already told you, right?
Without any hard physical evidence, police take a good long look at what little they do have, namely his phone records.
I started looking at phone calls, and I see there's calls between Jean-Pierre Devon and a number that I don't know of. And when I look at the address is literally a mile away from where Eric's car was dumped.
And the owner of that phone is a small-time Atlanta criminal named Christopher Tumlin.
Christopher Tumlin was facing unrelated charges that he was already in custody for.
Nothing very egregious, but he's in our jail.
Christopher Tumlin initially denied having anything to do with it, denied knowing Jean-Pierre, denied everything.
What I started to do with Tumlin is show him pictures of where the car was found.
We have your prints on Mr. Clark's car. And a witness saw you walking away from it and picked you out of a lineup.
Which was all a lie. I didn't have any prints. I didn't have any witness to see anything.
So let me ask you again. Were you a part of this?
I was a part of it, but I had nothing to do with no murder.
Once Christopher Tumlin realized the severity of the charges, I believe he wanted no parts of a homicide. He wanted no parts of a murder.
Like, it started when I got a call from a friend of mine, Corey Branch.
And that there was a guy that Corey was with that wanted to go do a robbery. And that Corey needed him to find a gun.
Hey, yo, Chris, man. What's up? My man here needs to buy a piece. Can you help us out or what?
That guy is Corey Branch's closest friend, Jean-Pierre Devon.
We're 10 minutes away.
Tumlin got $125 out of the whole deal. I don't think anyone involved that night were thinking about tomorrow.
Hey, man, what are you doing tonight? You want to come?
I think this was everyday life to them.
For Eric, this would be his last day.
Take the first exit for Atlanta. You'll get here faster.
All right, man.
He was lured there with specific instructions on how to get there.
All that's missing is who shot Eric and why.
All the elements of trust were there.
Eric had no clue. It's the perfect murder.
Eric Clark is ruthlessly gunned down in an Atlanta suburb. 2 years later, police finally get a break in the case.
The car arrives, and JP takes the gun out of the glove compartment.
Jean-Pierre gets out of his car, and Eric gets out of his car, and almost seems elated to see his cousin.
Jean-Pierre was in his wedding. Jean-Pierre was his wife's first cousin. All the elements of trust were there.
Eric had no clue. It's the perfect murder.
I don't see no liquor store around here, man.
Sorry, bro. I gotta do this.
Jean-Pierre shoots him in the face and keeps shooting him until he's out of bullets.
It was execution style.
Christopher Tumlin is stunned.
Basically, he thought they were gonna rob him.
Yo, guys, we gotta split. You, get the other car.
He said, I didn't want anything to do with these guys. And I jumped in his car and I drove it away. I dumped it. We hired a radio frequency engineer and mapped it out, how Jean-Pierre Devon traveled from his home basically to the crime scene in perfect timing to when the gunshots are heard and travel right back. to be at home.
But why would Jean-Pierre kill him? They were friends, right?
JP mentioned this lady in Alabama who wanted him dead.
Did he mean his cousin Constance, Mr. Clark's wife?
When police look for Constance, they find her in a very unexpected place: jail, for perpetrating a bogus loan 6 months before Eric's death.
Constance basically went to a financial institution and took out a loan in a family member's name.
Well, what I need is $11,000.
But of course, she got caught once the family member found out, and of course, she got prosecuted for it.
You're so kind for doing this for me.
She's serving 40 years for fraud. And when police learn why she took the bogus loan, it all starts coming together.
She takes out a $500,000 life insurance policy against Eric.
She paid for the policy up front so that it would go right into effect immediately.
She never sees $1 of the life insurance money.
I spoke with the insurance company and I said, she's a person of interest. So they kind of suspended payment at that point.
As police dig deeper, they learn that Constance wasn't subtle in planning Eric's death.
I'll be home right after my appointment. I promise. And let me tell you, I cannot wait till the 13th.
The day that Eric was murdered was December 13th. So she knew the day that he would be killed.
She also knew she didn't want to be a mother.
So?
Not done yet.
I found out after Eric was murdered that Constance was on birth control.
In my opinion, Constance deliberately did not want to have kids with Eric because she knew what was coming up.
I told you, JP.
And the revelations just keep coming.
I'd pay you after I got the insurance money. The insurance money isn't in yet.
One of the guys that Constance was having an affair with admitted that Constance was going to pay her cousin, Jean-Pierre Devon, $5,000 to have her husband killed.
3.5 years after Eric's death, Constance Clark, Jean-Pierre Devon, Christopher Tumlin, and Corey Branch are charged with Eric's murder. But convicting them is far from a sure thing.
The $500,000 life insurance policy that she took out on Eric, the phone calls between the two, the connection between Jean-Pierre and Christopher Tumlin.
Everything was circumstantial. Everything was based on nothing physical at all.
But in the end, justice prevails.
Jean-Pierre was convicted of murder.
He got life plus 20 years.
Christopher Tumlin receives a 40-year sentence because he drives Eric's car after the murder and made no effort to call the authorities. While Corey Branch, the go-between who set Jean-Pierre up with the gun, is granted immunity in exchange for his testimony.
Corey was not charged. He didn't initiate, he didn't participate. Constance Clark was convicted of homicide and conspiracy to commit homicide. That speaks volumes for the jury when they were able to put the pieces of this story together.
The arguments were essentially that she killed him for the insurance money. I mean, that was the ultimate motive. Constance actually called the detectives to find out why she didn't receive her insurance money. She did not call to find out what was the status of the case. She wanted to know what was the status of her money.
I think she was in love with the pills more than she was with her husband. And she had no money. She was getting attention from other guys, and I think she wanted a different lifestyle. And, you know, what better way to get that by getting rid of your husband and getting paid to do it? $500,000 and start a whole new life. That's, in a nutshell, I think, why she did it.
She got life plus 5 years, but I still didn't have my son. And I was hurting. I still was upset that she got to live and he didn't.
Still, Constance is in it for the long haul.
Her life sentence doesn't even start until she completes the sentence on the identity fraud charges.
She'll never see the streets again.
You look at the arc with Constance from the beginning all the way up until the end, and you see one attempt after the other to get short-term gratification. I want to lose weight, so I'll get gastric bypass instead of modifying my behavior with diet and exercise. I want to feel better, so I'll use a drug instead of figuring out why I don't feel good in the first place.
If she wants to have an affair, she's gonna make that affair happen. If she wants him dead, she's gonna make that death happen. It is within her nature to behave that way, and she doesn't really care about the consequences.
His face, it was just like a glow. I think about it all the time now, of how his face glowed.
I don't want to believe it was just about money, because I know my brother was worth more than $1 million of insurance policy, you know. But I don't hate her. I feel sorry for her.
I'm proud that I had the honor of being his mom, but I miss him. I miss him. I miss him. I wish he had never took those vows, because he said, I promised to be there for her in sickness or in health, to death do us part. And that's exactly what happened. He was there through her sickness. He was there through her depression. He was there in knowing that she was doing things that she shouldn't do, and he stuck by her, and death is what parted them.
My wife and my daughter say that you got to let it go. But with your child, somebody who is dear to you, it's hard to let something like this go. I felt like they should have got the same thing that my son got. Their family still can go and visit their children. And I have to go to the cemetery and look down on my child.